Hello everybody, and welcome to the first of 3 videos about undertaking a trance or meditation journey. This first video will be about how to position ourselves and to protect ourselves before we begin, and the second video will then be about our breathing and relaxation before we begin, and the third video will be the actual journey itself. And as I've just said, this video is going to start by discussing how we can physically prepare for that journey, because I think it's very important that we go over the basics, because I'm not assuming that everybody's at the same level. Some of you may already be completely at ease with this process and have your own way of doing it, in which case please just skip to the journey video, which is number 3. But this is for people who might want to see a different way of doing things, to refresh themselves, or perhaps to learn how to do it for the first time. So I'm going to be reading from my book Wild Spirituality, which you can see here in front of me, and I'll just begin, shall I? Okay, so I have called this section in the book Back to Our Roots. Our physical position aids reconnection, and that's what we're going to be doing when we go into our trance journey. We're reconnecting with the source and the wild self in order to go deeper into other layers of reality, into other worlds. As wild spirituality is centered on the green heart of being, I've chosen the tree as our model for doing this. As most ancient cultures concur, the tree is an eloquent symbol of the connection between earth and sky, which is simultaneously grounded and open. By aligning ourselves with the primal tree of life, or the world tree, we take on its powerful resonance, and we use our own body as a similar bridge, becoming as living wood. Our spine, trunk, becomes the metaphorical wire through which we can join both our physical and our eternal unseen aspect, allowing the pure pulse of source energy to move through us, just as a tree draws in sunlight and water. We all know something as familiar but wonderful as a tree, and we know how they function, and so we can emulate them quite easily. Sorry if I'm moving the camera. It's going to be a hazard of this video, I'm afraid. Bear with me. Anyway, our intent is consistently vital, and if we intend to be as a tree, imagining ourselves as they are, then it will be so. After all, we are the creator, and we're dreaming into being. It's our forte as creative beings. Now, we need to get into a position that allows for firm contact with the earth, while suggesting openness to what lies beyond us. Although trees stand upright, standing isn't very practical for deep relaxation of over 20 minutes. So instead, we can move my book, and you can see some of these positions that I've included in the book here. So instead, we can sit or we can lie down whilst maintaining the basic principle of treeness, with our spine as the conduit trunk. The spine itself lengthens down into a taproot that gives stability, while smaller roots branch off from other parts of our body. If we're sitting, it can look like this. Now, the taproot that I've put in all of these illustrations looks a tad weird. In fact, it could look a bit dodgy, because it looks like it's coming straight out of the person's bottom, but it is actually an extension of the spine, and that is a taproot. If we envisage that coming out through the spine, down, earthing us into the ground, and all these little roots coming off it, and similarly off our feet here. And if we're lying down, if we choose to do that, then the taproot again is coming out of the spine, down into the earth, and the little roots are coming off the back of our head, off the taproot itself, off our fingers, and off our heels as they rest on the earth. Now, I don't assume that we have one physical modus operandi for everybody, and I completely understand that not everybody has the same physical capabilities. So I suggest that we use whatever position we've previously found comfortable for meditation or contemplation or relaxation, and root ourselves deeply into that. We're presenting ourselves symbolically, and so with a little ingenuity we can adapt most of our comfortable postures into representing a tree's essential grounded openness. The position of our limbs, hands and feet is also important, and the diagrams I'm going to show you now also offer some alternative suggestions. So when our body's wires are uncrossed, our legs and arms are unbent or unfolded, we can allow for an unimpeded flow of energy. And this is how I show it here, with the person lying spread-eagled on the floor, but still making that connection with the taproot coming down out of the spine, out of the fingers, there's roots, and the heels where they're meeting the ground. And also they will be coming out of the back of the head. Any place where we touch the earth, we're rooting down with that aspect of our body. When we sit in a more classical yoga posture, in the position of the sages as it were, we also are creating an effective circuit with our fingers, and so we're making a circuit, but we're also open and receptive and grounded both at the same time. Like the tree, we're open and grounded simultaneously, and that is the absolute essence of all of this. So we get the taproot again and the roots, but we're also open like branches to the sky. And here you can see that when the soles of our feet and our palms are touching, we're also making a circuit. We're thinking in terms of energy all the time here. Turn the page. Right, where are we now? We are this one. So when we place the palms flat and the soles of the feet flat on the ground, we are earthing ourselves. So the feet and the hands are flat on the ground. We're aware of that earthing with the roots again and the taproot coming down from our spine. And when we sit like this, with the taproot coming down from the spine, the feet on the ground, but the hands are up, again receptive like the branches of a tree, reaching out to all that is. Any of these postures, which have all been tried and tested by me, otherwise I wouldn't be suggesting any of them, all of these postures are equally effective, and so we can choose whichever feels right to us physically and symbolically. There is no right and wrong with wild spirituality, just a need to understand why we're doing it, to understand the symbolism of why we're doing it and the energies of why we're doing it. Those are the most important things. So now we're positioned, we can use our imagination and our intent to protect ourselves. And I go into this in all of my books, and in other videos I'm going to be looking through all of my books and sharing things with you from them. But for now I'm just going to say that protection is a very important aspect of spiritual practice as far as I'm concerned. Connecting with all that is, connecting with the unseen, protection is key. In wild spirituality, intention is everything. In this case, if we deliberately and passionately focus on what we want, to be protected from harmful energies, then it will be so. What we give our full attention to through visualization, seeing with our mind's eye, becomes reality at an energetic or an unseen level. And yet protection isn't absolutely infallible. By this I mean, if we're deliberately going to venture into disturbed atmospheres or seek out hostile forces, then we can expect repercussions. After all, if we keep our hand on a hot stove, even an oven glove is going to give us a little bit of protection, but it's not going to stop us from burning after a while. However, if we only give our attention to what's benevolent and uplifting and for our highest good, then we're not dangerously going to be wandering into territory that we shouldn't be in. And so following this protective process that I describe will be enough. After years of experimentation, I found visualizing a bright protective bubble the most effective method for me. This visualization can be backed up by describing what we're creating, either aloud or to ourselves. Stating our intent is a powerful adjunct to inner work, with invocation or affirmation being a partner to visualization. It's particularly effective if we need protection fast. If our protective routine is well established, then a few evocative words like "I'm in my safe shining bubble" will be enough to trigger it into being. The first protective bubble I'll describe is suitable for daily use, and for our journeying this will be perfectly adequate. That's why I'm sharing it with you here. I consider this bubble to be made of a sort of an etheric gel, inspired by the translucent gelatin-free capsules that my vitamins come in. It's a kind of a flexible shell. These capsules are strong enough to hold the vitamin powder, yet they're flexible enough to be squashed without breaking. They're also insubstantial enough to melt in the mouth. So I find that quite helpful to think about. This combination of subtlety and strength is perfect for the protective material that we need to visualize around ourselves. With my inner vision, I see myself standing inside a protective, semi-transparent membrane, this bubble, which is tinted a bright sky blue. I see above my head and below my feet, before and behind, to both sides, surrounding me from top to toe. I reach out and I test this second skin that I've created around myself, feeling give a little bit under my fingers. It's flexible, but it's strong. I mentally describe what I'm experiencing. I'm standing within a bright blue gel bubble, etc. That strengthens its reality. I visualize the bubble filling with a dazzling light, shielding my eyes almost from its brilliance. And I imagine how this must look from the outside, a glowing blue-white sphere in space. Then I allow the light to fade and I remain inside the capsule or bubble, knowing my intention has made it powerfully shielding and yet not rigid or brittle. It flexes as I breathe. It's an organic bubble of protection. If I choose, I can then shrink my bubble down so it covers me sort of like an etheric spacesuit. I'm literally wrapped within its flexible fabric from head to toe. I look through the pale sky blue coloured material in front of my face and I see myself wriggling my fingers and toes through its fine translucent skin. As I begin my work, I gradually lose a sense of wearing this blue suit or bubble, although it remains an energetic reality. The more times we create this, the stronger its reality. I'm going to just quickly describe a second protective bubble, which is for use when you need swift, extra strong protection. You probably won't need this when you're doing a journey because we're preparing and we're doing it in a slow, methodical way. But you could be in an unexpectedly hostile situation with confrontational physical influences or disturbed unseen energies. This bubble is made of an alien or otherworldly material, a preternaturally light but incredibly resilient super metal. This shining metal has memory, so if the bubble were dented, it would return to its original spherical shape. It's not so dense as to be impermeable, but it's not so insubstantial as to be easily breached. It reflects light and anything else directed at it from its surface. It's like a mirror, and I fill the inside of it with light. Being in this bubble is like being inside a hollow ball bearing, only one that's made from a gossamer fine, strangely flexible but durable metal, as yet unknown to humanity. Something like people describe the metal that was found at Roswell, apparently, which could be scrunched up and then it would spring back into its original form. If you're familiar with that story, you'll know what I mean. This metal bubble can also be shrunk to fit into a flexible silver bodysuit. Then I stand within my protective sphere or suit, knowing it to be effective. I've given my creation my full concentration and it feels convincing to me. Only then will I have the faith to project my protection psychically. Everything in the unseen is about energies, and if we believe our protection to be real, then it is an energetic reality. Everything is energy, and our energies are everything. However, if I so choose, I can now add a protective symbol over my body just as a finishing touch. I'm going to just put my symbol here. Symbols are potent shorthand representing a personal or a collective concept. They're lyrical, expressive and compelling, resonating deeply at the superconscious or infinitely conscious level. They may have been claimed by human belief systems, but they are beyond literal interpretation and so really belong to nobody. We can wear any vibrant symbol that seems positively protective to us. I can choose a 5-pointed silver star. I imagine it so that the upper point of it is above my head. My arms are the arms of the star outstretched, and the 2 lower points are my legs apart. I imagine that the silver is burnished and it gleams and glints, and I visualize it getting brighter and brighter, and then let its light fade back to be absorbed into my outstretched body. I realise that this 5-pointed symbol also has connotations of a pentacle or witchcraft, but my choice is a star because it represents an incandescent illumination in the darkness. I'm drawn to the star's eternal, wild-spirited resonance and not its human interpretation. However, this isn't to say we can't choose a symbol that's been charged up by specific focuses or faith, such as the Om, the Star of David, a yin-yang or an Ankh. An equal arm cross like the Celtic cross or medicine wheel works well within a human body standing with arms outstretched and legs together. And it is of course a plus sign, which has positive associations. As with my star, we can place one large symbol over our whole self, or we can position smaller versions of the symbol over specific areas that we might feel are vulnerable. If we work with the notion of chakras, energy points or portals on the body, then those would be ideal places to place them. However, we can invent our own symbols, and one I've worked with extensively represents the wild spirit. Here it is. To me, this combines the unfolding of all possibility, the spiral, supporting the wild dream of the earth, the curve, and holding the individual being, the dot, which then feeds back into the spaciousness of infinite consciousness all around it, and then back to the spiral itself. It speaks of the eternal flow of one, the larger one, the greater one, back to the singular one of me, and out to the greater oneness again. It also looks like a joyous individual with arms outstretched. Their arms are raised and the wild spiral of spirit is fueling them. To you, it might mean something completely different, and that's how it should be. Please feel free to utilise it and interpret it in any way you see fit. But with the wild-spirited do-it-yourself ethos that I am expounding here, it would be better to meditate on oneness and then create your own, because this is all about being the creator, expressing that creator self. And that's all I've got to say just for now about protection and positioning of our body. I'll go on to the next video about relaxation and the breath, and the third video will be the journey itself. I hope that you've gained something from this, and I look forward to joining you again in the next videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.